The night sky over the quiet town of Riverview had always been a canvas of serene beauty, dotted with twinkling stars. But on this particular night, the tranquility was shattered by a streak of brilliant light that tore across the heavens. It was no meteor or shooting star, it was something far more extraordinary. Jacob Carter, a retired astronomer living on the outskirts of Riverview, was the first to notice the anomaly. As he peered through his telescope, he saw the object descending rapidly, trailing a tail of fire and smoke. His heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. He had spent decades studying the cosmos, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of an alien spacecraft making an emergency landing on Earth. The spacecraft, a sleek, silver vessel, crashed into the dense forest beyond Jacob's property, creating a thunderous explosion that reverberated through the night. The ground shook, and birds took flight in a frenzy of flapping wings. Jacob grabbed his flashlight and camera, and without a moment's hesitation, he headed into the woods. The closer he got to the crash site, the more intense the heat and the smell of burning vegetation became. When he finally reached the clearing, he was met with a scene straight out of a science fiction movie. The spacecraft lay in a smoldering heap, its metallic surface scorched and twisted. Despite the destruction, Jacob could see that the design was unlike anything created by human hands. As he approached cautiously, a hatch on the side of the ship creaked open, and a figure emerged, shrouded in the smoke. Jacob's breath caught in his throat as he realized he was looking at an extraterrestrial being. The alien was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered in shades of blue and green. Its large, almond-shaped eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. Jacob took a step forward, his camera forgotten in his hand. "Are you all right?" he called out, not expecting an answer. To his amazement, the alien responded in perfect English. "Please, help us. We mean no harm." Jacob's mind raced with questions, but he knew there would be time for that later. Right now, the priority was to help these unexpected visitors. "Follow me," he said, motioning towards his house. "We need to get you out of here before anyone else arrives." The alien nodded and gestured back towards the ship. Two more figures emerged, a smaller, younger-looking alien and another adult, both showing signs of injury. Jacob helped them to their feet, and together, they made their way through the forest to his home. Back at Jacob's house, the alien settled into the basement, which he had hastily prepared as a temporary refuge. He brought them blankets, food, and water, unsure of what they could consume. To his relief, they seemed able to adapt to human nourishment. Over the next few days, Jacob learned more about his guests. The leader of the group, who introduced himself as Kale, explained that they were from a planet called La Mera, located in a distant galaxy. La Mera had been a thriving world, but it was now embroiled in a devastating war. Kale, along with his mate Leora and their child Mira, had fled their home in search of a new beginning. "We were not soldiers," Kale said, his voice tinged with sadness. "We were scientists, seeking knowledge and peace. But our world was torn apart by conflict, and we had no choice but to escape." Jacob listened intently, feeling a deep sense of empathy for their plight. He had always believed that humanity was not alone in the universe, but he had never imagined that he would one day provide sanctuary to alien refugees. "You're safe here," he assured them. "We'll figure out a way to keep you hidden and help you rebuild your lives." However, keeping their presence a secret in a small town like Riverview proved to be challenging. Rumors of strange lights in the sky and unexplained noises in the forest began to circulate. Jacob knew it was only a matter of time before someone came looking for answers. He decided to enlist the help of his closest friend, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a brilliant biologist with a passion for extraterrestrial life. When Jacob confided in Sarah, she was initially skeptical, but her curiosity soon got the better of her. She agreed to meet the Lumarans, and after an evening spent in deep conversation with Kale, Leora, and Mira, she was convinced of their authenticity. Together, Jacob and Sarah devised a plan to protect the aliens and integrate them into human society without raising suspicion. The first step in their plan was to create new identities for the Lumarans. Jacob and Sarah forged documents, fabricated a backstory, and even altered their physical appearance slightly to make them less conspicuous. Cale became Dr. Cale Roberts, reclusive scientist. Leora became Laura Roberts, his equally enigmatic wife, and Mira was now their precocious daughter, Mia. With their new identities in place, the Lumorans began to venture out into Riverview, cautiously at first. They marveled at the simplicity and beauty of human life, and slowly, they started to blend in. Cale took up a position at a local research institute, where his advanced knowledge quickly earned him respect. Leora found solace in gardening, cultivating plants that reminded her of La Mera. Mira, despite her initial fear, soon made friends and adapted to the local school. As the months passed, the Lumorans found a semblance of normalcy in their new lives. They remained vigilant, knowing that discovery could mean disaster, but they also allowed themselves to hope for a future where they could live openly and peacefully among humans. However, their presence did not go unnoticed for long. Unbeknownst to them, a government agency dedicated to investigating extraterrestrial phenomena had picked up on the reports from Riverview. Agents were dispatched to the area, posing as ordinary citizens while they conducted their covert surveillance. One evening, as Jacob and Sarah were discussing their progress, Cale entered the room, his expression grim. "We have a problem," he said, holding up a device that emitted a faint beeping sound. "I've detected a signal. We're being monitored." Jacob's heart sank. "Do they know about you?" "Not yet," Cale replied. "But it's only a matter of time. We need to act quickly." Realizing the imminent threat, Jacob and Sarah worked tirelessly with the Lumorans to devise an escape plan. They decided to relocate to a remote cabin owned by Sarah's family, deep in the mountains, where they could remain hidden while figuring out their next move. The night of the escape, they moved under the cover of darkness. Cale's advanced technology helped them avoid detection, but they knew the agents were not far behind. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, Myra's fear grew palpable. "Will they find us?" she asked, her voice trembling. Cale knelt beside her, his eyes filled with determination. "I won't let them. We will protect you, always." Just as they reached the cabin, they heard the unmistakable sound of helicopters in the distance. The agents had tracked their movements and were closing in fast. Jacob and Sarah hurriedly prepared the cabin, while Cale set up a defensive perimeter using Lumoran technology. The standoff lasted through the night. The agents, armed with advanced tracking equipment, surrounded the cabin, but Cale's defenses held strong. Inside, the group huddled together, knowing that their fate hung in the balance. At dawn, a helicopter landed nearby, and a figure emerged, flanked by heavily armed soldiers. The leader of the agency, Director Thomas Blake, approached the cabin with a megaphone. "We know you're in there," he called out. "We don't want to harm you. We just want to talk." Cale exchanged a look with Jacob and Sarah. "What do we do?" Jacob took a deep breath. "We buy ourselves some time." He stepped outside, hands raised in a gesture of surrender. "We'll talk," he said. "But you have to promise they won't be harmed." Blake nodded. "Agreed. But we need to see them." Reluctantly, Cale, Leora, and Mira emerged from the cabin. Blake's eyes widened at the sight of the extraterrestrial family. But he maintained his composure. "You have my word," he said. "No harm will come to you. We're here to understand, not to destroy." Over the next few days, an uneasy truce was established. Blake and his team set up a temporary base near the cabin, where they conducted interviews and examinations. Cale shared the story of La Mera, the war, and their desperate journey to Earth. Leora and Mira spoke of their hopes and fears, while Jacob and Sarah provided their perspective on the Lumorans' integration into human society. Blake listened intently, his initial skepticism giving way to a genuine desire to understand. He realized that the Lumorans were not a threat, but rather refugees seeking a safe haven. "I'll do what I can to help you," he promised. "But it won't be easy. There are those who see any extraterrestrial presence as a danger." Kale nodded. We understand. But we believe that coexistence is possible. We can share our knowledge, our culture, and help build a better future for both our species. Blake agreed to keep their presence a secret and to assist them in finding a more permanent and safe refuge. With his influence, he arranged for the Lumorans to be relocated to a secure location, where they could continue their work and live without fear of discovery. As they prepared to leave Riverview, Jacob, Sarah, and the Lumorans shared a heartfelt goodbye. You've become our family, Leora said, tears in her eyes. We will never forget what you've done for us. Jacob hugged her tightly. And you'll always have a home here, no matter what. The Lumorans' new home was a state-of-the-art research facility hidden in the mountains, where they could continue their scientific endeavors and explore ways to aid both Lumoran and human societies. Blake visited regularly, ensuring their needs were met and their safety maintained. Mira adapted quickly to their new surroundings, her curiosity and intelligence flourishing. She developed a close bond with Sarah, who had become a mentor and friend. Together, they worked on projects that combined human and Lumoran technology, making groundbreaking advancements in medicine, energy, and environmental conservation. Kale and Leora, meanwhile, focused on finding a way to end the war on Lumera and bring peace to their home planet. With Blake's support, they initiated communication with Lumoran resistance groups, sharing strategies and resources. Their efforts began to show promise, and hope flickered on the horizon. Years passed, and the Lumorans became an integral part of the hidden research community. Their contributions to science and humanity were immeasurable, and their story became a testament to the power of compassion and cooperation. One clear morning, as the sun rose over the mountains, Kale received a message from Lumera. The war had ended, and a new era of peace and rebuilding had begun. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he shared the news with his family and friends. We did it, he said, his voice choked with emotion. We can go home. The decision to return to Lumera was bittersweet. They had found a new family on Earth, but the pull of their homeland was strong. As they prepared to leave, Jacob, Sarah, and Blake gathered to bid them farewell. You've given us so much, Sarah said, hugging Mira tightly. We'll never forget you. And we will never forget you, Kale replied. Our bond will endure, across the stars. With one final embrace, the Lumorans boarded their repaired spacecraft, ready to return to Lumera and help rebuild their world. As the ship ascended into the sky, Jacob, Sarah, and Blake watched with a mix of sadness and pride. Do you think we'll ever see them again? Blake asked. Jacob smiled, his eyes on the sky. I have a feeling we will. After all, the universe has a way of bringing kindred spirits together. As the spacecraft disappeared into the vast expanse of space, a sense of hope and possibility filled the air. The Lumorans' journey had been one of survival, discovery, and friendship, and it had forever changed the lives of those who had crossed their path, and so, under the same stars that had witnessed their arrival, a new chapter began, one of unity, understanding, and the endless potential of worlds coming together. This concludes the initial chapters of the story. If you'd like to continue with more chapters or delve into specific details, please let me know. As the Lumorans returned to their home planet, Lumera, they were greeted with scenes of both devastation and resilience. The war had taken its toll, but the spirit of the Lumoran people was unbroken. Kale, Leora, and Mira were welcomed as heroes. Their journey to Earth and the knowledge they had gained symbolizing a new dawn for their world, Kale immediately took on a leadership role, helping to coordinate the rebuilding efforts. Leora, with her deep love for nature, began working on restoring the environment, using both Lumoran and human techniques to heal the land. Mira, now a young adult, became a bridge between the younger and older generations, inspiring hope and innovation with the stories of her experiences on Earth. Back on Earth, Jacob and Sarah continued their work, their lives forever changed by their encounter with the Lumorans. They maintained a secret communication link with their friends in space, sharing knowledge and updates on their respective worlds. Meanwhile, Director Thomas Blake faced increasing pressure from higher authorities who were suspicious of his activities. Rumors of the hidden research facility and the Lumaran's existence began to leak, drawing the attention of powerful entities who saw the potential for exploitation. One such entity was a shadowy organization known as the Consortium, a group with vast resources and a history of manipulating global events for their gain. They viewed the Lumarans not as allies, but as assets to be controlled. Blake's covert operations came under intense scrutiny. As the Consortium closed in, he had no choice but to warn Jacob and Sarah. "They're coming," he said during a clandestine meeting. "We need to prepare for the worst." Jacob and Sarah immediately began to secure their research and erase any traces of the Lumaran's presence. They knew that if the Consortium got their hands on the advanced technology and knowledge, it could spell disaster for both Earth and Lamera. Realizing the severity of the situation, Blake orchestrated a daring plan to relocate the remaining researchers and their families to a safe location. Using the underground network they had established with the Lumarans, they arranged for a secret extraction. On the night of the escape, the Consortium launched a full-scale raid on the research facility. Helicopters and armed agents swarmed the area, but Blake and his team were prepared. With Kale's advanced technology and strategic planning, they managed to evade capture and make their way to a hidden airstrip. As they boarded the waiting aircraft, Blake handed Jacob a sealed envelope. "In case anything happens to me, this contains everything you need to continue our work." Jacob nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Thank you, Thomas. We won't let you down." The plane took off just as the Consortium agents closed in, disappearing into the night sky. Blake, however, stayed behind, determined to buy as much time as possible for his friends to escape. The plane carried them to a remote island, far from prying eyes and interference. The island, once a military outpost, had been converted into a self-sustaining sanctuary. It was equipped with the latest technology, much of it derived from Lumaran innovations. Here, Jacob, Sarah, and the other researchers could continue their work in peace. They established a new community, dedicated to the principles of knowledge, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. Communication with the Lumarans continued, and the bond between the two worlds grew stronger. Kale and Leora provided guidance and support, while Mira often visited Earth, deepening her understanding of human culture and sharing her insights with her people. Over the next few years, the combined efforts of humans and Lumarans led to remarkable advancements. They developed new technologies to combat climate change, cure diseases, and improve the quality of life for all beings on both Earth and Lamera. The Consortium, having failed to capture the researchers, turned its attention elsewhere, but the threat remained ever present. Blake, now operating from the shadows, continued to monitor their activities, ready to act if they ever posed a danger again. Jacob and Sarah, now recognized as pioneers in their field, dedicated their lives to fostering a deeper understanding between humans and extraterrestrials. Their work paved the way for the eventual public revelation of the Lumaran's existence, which was met with awe and wonder rather than fear and hostility. With the war on Lamera a distant memory, the planet began to flourish once more. The alliance between Earth and Lamera became a beacon of hope for other civilizations across the galaxy. They formed the Galactic Alliance, a coalition dedicated to peace, exploration, and mutual aid. Mira, now a prominent leader, played a crucial role in the alliance, advocating for the values she had learned on both Earth and Lamera. Her vision of a unified galaxy inspired countless others to join the cause. On Earth, Jacob and Sarah continued to share their knowledge, teaching the next generation of scientists, diplomats, and explorers. They knew that the journey was far from over, but they were confident that together, humans and Lumarans could face any challenge the universe might throw at them. Decades passed, and the story of the Lumarans and their journey to Earth became legend. Their legacy lived on through the countless lives they had touched and the worlds they had transformed. Jacob and Sarah, now elderly, watched with pride as their children and grandchildren continued their work. They had dedicated their lives to a cause greater than themselves and had seen the fruits of their labor blossom in ways they could never have imagined. One clear night, as they sat together under the stars, Jacob turned to Sarah. "Do you ever wonder what's out there, waiting for us?" Sarah smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Every day. And I know that whatever it is, we'll face it together. Just like we always have. As they gazed into the infinite expanse of the universe, they knew that their journey was far from over. The story of Earth and Lamera was just one chapter in the endless saga of discovery, unity, and the enduring spirit of exploration, and so, under the same stars that had witnessed their arrival, a new chapter began, one of unity, understanding, and the endless potential of worlds coming together. Returning to Lamera was both a joyous and daunting task for Kale, Leora, and Mira. The planet had been ravaged by war, and the scars were deep. Cities lay in ruins, and vast stretches of land were barren and lifeless. But the Lumaran spirit was resilient. Kale took charge of the technological and infrastructural rebuilding efforts. Using the knowledge he had gained on Earth, he implemented new systems for energy production, transportation, and communication. Lumara's technological renaissance began to take shape, and the once broken planet started to thrive again. Leora focused on ecological restoration. She spearheaded initiatives to replant forests, purify water sources, and restore wildlife habitats. Her dedication inspired many Lumarans to join her efforts, and soon, green shoots of new life began to appear across the planet. Mira, with her unique perspective and experiences, became a vital link between the old and new generations. She promoted educational programs that combined Lumaran wisdom with the innovative ideas she had encountered on Earth. Schools and universities flourished, fostering a new era of intellectual and cultural growth. On Earth, Jacob and Sarah continued their groundbreaking work. They established the Earth Lumara Institute, ELI, a center dedicated to interplanetary research and collaboration. The institute attracted brilliant minds from around the world. All eager to explore the possibilities of working with Lumaran technology and knowledge, ELI became a hub of innovation, producing advancements in medicine, environmental science, and engineering. The Institute's work helped address some of Earth's most pressing problems, such as climate change, energy shortages, and public health crises. Despite the distance, communication between Earth and Lamera remained strong. Regular exchanges of information, resources, and personnel fostered a deep sense of unity and shared purpose. Mira often visited Earth, serving as an ambassador and strengthening the bonds between the two worlds. While progress flourished, the shadowy consortium did not sit idle. Frustrated by their previous failure, they intensified their efforts to uncover and exploit the secrets of Lumaran technology. They infiltrated research institutions, bribed officials, and launched cyber attacks to gather information. Director Thomas Blake, operating from the shadows, continued to monitor the consortium's activities. He knew that any breach of security could have catastrophic consequences. Blake formed a covert task force, composed of trusted allies, to counteract the consortium's moves. One night, a breakthrough occurred. Blake's team intercepted a transmission revealing the consortium's plan to capture key members of ELI and force them to reveal their knowledge. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Blake immediately alerted Jacob and Sarah. Realizing the imminent danger, Jacob, Sarah, and their colleagues at ELI took immediate action. They relocated to a hidden fortress, a secret facility built in collaboration with the Lumarans. This fortress, equipped with advanced security measures and cloaking technology, was designed to be impenetrable. As they settled into their new home, the researchers continued their work with renewed determination. They knew that their discoveries could change the fate of both worlds, and they were committed to protecting their knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Blake's task force, meanwhile, engaged in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with the consortium. They disrupted their operations, sabotaged their plans, and slowly dismantled their network. The consortium, frustrated and increasingly desperate, became more reckless in their attempts to achieve their goal. The tension reached its peak when the consortium launched a full-scale assault on the hidden fortress. Despite the advanced defenses, the attackers managed to breach the outer perimeter. Jacob, Sarah, and their colleagues prepared for a last stand, knowing that the fate of their work hung in the balance. As the consortium agents stormed the fortress, Blake and his task force launched a counteroffensive. A fierce battle ensued, with both sides taking heavy casualties. In the chaos, Blake confronted the leader of the consortium, a ruthless operative known only as the Director. "You won't win," Blake said, his voice steady despite the danger. "The knowledge we protect is for the benefit of all, not for your greed." The Director sneered. "We'll see about that." Just as the situation seemed dire, a group of Lumran warriors, led by Mira, arrived to assist. With their advanced combat skills and technology, they turned the tide of the battle. The consortium agents were overwhelmed and forced to retreat. Blake, though injured, managed to capture the Director. "It's over," he said, securing the leader. "You'll face justice for your crimes." With the threat of the consortium neutralized, the members of ELI could finally focus on their mission without fear. They expanded their efforts, involving more nations and fostering a global movement towards unity and progress. Jacob and Sarah, reflecting on their journey, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had played a pivotal role in forging a bond between Earth and Lamera, one that promised to usher in a new era of cooperation and advancement. On Lamera, Kale, Leora, and Mira continued their work, ensuring that their planet thrived while maintaining close ties with their friends on Earth. The Galactic Alliance grew stronger, attracting new member civilizations and promoting peace and collaboration across the stars. Years later, Jacob and Sarah, now in their twilight years, looked back on the extraordinary journey they had undertaken. The world had changed dramatically, thanks in part to their efforts and the enduring friendship with the Lumrans. Their children and grandchildren continued their legacy, dedicated to exploring the universe and strengthening the bonds between different worlds. The vision of a unified galaxy, once a distant dream, was now a vibrant reality. As they watched a new generation of explorers set off into the stars, Jacob and Sarah felt a deep sense of peace. They had witnessed the best of humanity and Lumran spirit, and they knew that the future was bright. The tale of the Lumrans and their journey to Earth became a cornerstone of intergalactic history. Their story was told and retold, inspiring countless beings to look beyond their horizons and embrace the possibilities of the unknown. Under the same stars that had witnessed their arrival, the spirit of exploration and unity lived on. The journey, they knew, was far from over. With each new discovery, each new friendship, the tapestry of the universe grew richer and more beautiful, and so, the legacy of Earth and Lamera continued to shine, a beacon of hope and promise in the vast, infinite expanse of space.